Hey, this is John with the Major League Baseball playoff race update going into the weekend of August 18th. Calculations are from the web app at playoffcomputer.appspot.com. If you play fantasy sports, particularly football or other sport leagues with head-to-head schedules, I have a free tool there for analyzing the playoff race for your league. This video series and the companion playoff race podcast, currently available on Spotify and Apple, are a relatively new venture, so if you find this at all interesting, please do all the things that give me internet likes. If you want to encourage my passion for all things playoff race or help offset the costs involved with the web app, there are some options on the site to do so, which would be appreciated. Now let's get into it. In the American League, here are the latest odds for each team to make the playoffs. These are based on a coin flip probability of either team in a game winning and not weighted towards a quote-unquote better team. In the AL East, the Orioles have stumbled a bit as their West Coast swing drags on, dropping 2 of 3 to the Padres. They get the A's this weekend, and as we'll see in a moment, they can afford a couple stumbles along the way. The Rays, also on the West Coast, just took 2 of 3 from the Giants after doing the same to the Guardians. They are now in Hollywood to play the Angels, then home for the Rockies before things get interesting and tougher to finish the season. If they can do well over the next week, they might just have a big enough buffer to handle the hard landing. If they don't, there will be a big opportunity for the other competitors to take advantage. The Blue Jays split a mini series against the Phillies. They now travel to Cincinnati and Baltimore. Afterwards, they will have their last opportunity to play win challenge teams to put themselves in position to face a challenging end of their own. The Red Sox just went .500 against the Tigers and Nationals, which made them the loser of the week. Huge weekend at the Yankees could be make or break for both of them. I guess I should call the Red Sox and Yankees co-losers of the week. Yankees have lost 5 straight, and unless they snap out of that faster than a border collie in an agility course, their season is lost. The Twins and Guardians continue to inspire Reddit jokes about the AL Central. It looks like as long as the Twins can avoid any serious losing streaks, just about .500 is likely to be good enough for the division. The Guardians are hosting the Tigers this weekend. If they can stay within relative striking distance, they have 2 series upcoming against the Twins, late August and early September. The Tigers' only hopes are to begin a miracle streak with a sweep, or maybe 3 out of 4, in that series against the Guardians. Looking at the West, the Rangers have only lost 3 games this month and are poised to secure their key to the postseason. The Astros haven't been slouching either. Their next 7 are at home against the Mariners and Red Sox, so they could really take out 2 opponents while elevating themselves, or they could create a big old log jam in the river. Speaking of the Mariners, big winners this week, ended a 3-game slide by taking the last 3 against the Royals. After this weekend against the Astros, great opportunity to pile on some more wins. I'm done, at least for now, with talking about the Angels and postseason in the same sentence. If they do something to get back into the conversation, I'll revisit. The latest projections for wins needed to get a wild card is still stuck right around 88. That places the Orioles, Rangers, and even the Rays in great shape to not need much effort to get home. The Twins, Guardians, and Tigers, of course, don't have much hope of a wild card berth, and the winner of the Central won't likely have 88 wins. But anyway, I've moved the Yankees over into the realistically eliminated column. Again, as with the Angels, if they start playing baseball with a vengeance, I'll bring them back into the conversation. But otherwise, for now, we got a 5-team race for 3 spots, with the Red Sox needing to overtake 2 teams among the 4, and the 2 closest ones to them don't seem to be in the mood. Here's the AL projections, both from my strength of schedule formula along with those from team rankings. Thanks to them for letting me use their numbers. You can check out all their data and tools at teamrankings.com. Almost identical, with Toronto and the Mariners neck and neck for the last spot, illustrating that the Red Sox need to take some wins from unexpected places. Let's take a closer look at the wild card race. The Rays have on paper the third toughest remaining schedule. Again, this is all relative. We're talking minor differences between the overall opponent winning percentage. Still have a number of games against the Blue Jays, Mariners, and Red Sox. Houston, on the other hand, has the third easiest remaining schedule, which is going to make it tough for others to catch them. Still, they have 2 series each against the Mariners and Red Sox. The Blue Jays have some critical series against the Rays and Red Sox, but perhaps what is the most crucial stretch for them is how they do starting at the end of the month when they get 4 series against the worst teams in baseball. If they do well then, that really puts the pressure on the others, and if not, they themselves might not be able to recover. Similarly, the Mariners have tough series against the Astros and Rays remaining, and end the season Rangers, Astros, Rangers. So they might need to really do well against the scrubs of baseball they still have games with. And for the Red Sox, all this shows why it might be so tough to catch up even though they are only 3.5 back right now. Besides having the toughest remaining schedule, with all the other teams ahead of them playing each other, somebody has to get all those wins between them, which means the Red Sox really need to take a majority against the competitors listed in addition to sweeping a lot of other opponents. And those opponents for them still include 7 against the Orioles and 7 against the Yankees. And this same rationale also applies to the teams I said I wouldn't mention again, at least for now. The odds are really stacked against gaining ground against multiple teams when those multiple teams have a lot of remaining games against each other. Over in the National League, starting with the NL East, the Braves have won 8 of the past 10 and will need a collapse that hasn't been seen since some of my fantasy football teams in playoff matches in order to avoid the postseason. The Phillies seem to be kind of under the radar and continue to play like that, winning some, losing some, which is likely going to be just fine to take a wild card spot. The Marlins have not been playing well as of late, and it has finally caught up to them. They are now on the outside looking in, though just by a fraction of a percentage point. The Brewers were big winners last time I talked. Now they are the big losers. Got swept by the Dodgers, letting the Cubs and Reds get dangerously close to them in the division, and opening up the chance they have to worry about working to get a wild card spot. The Cubs and Reds continue to be practically joined at the hip. Cubs using 9th inning heroics to avoid a mini catastrophe against the White Sox. The Reds split their intrastate series against the Guardians to stay right in the middle of things. In the West, the Dodgers have won 11 in a row and are virtual locks. The Giants' woes of late might continue as they are now in Atlanta to play the red-hot Braves. The Diamondbacks are the big winners as of late, having won 5 of 6 to maybe right the ship. The projections are still showing right around 85 wins needed to get a wild card. That would mean the Braves and Dodgers have realistically clinched at least a wild card spot. Everybody else, however, has to play reasonably well to get to that mark. I have the Padres realistically eliminated, even though they are only 5 games out. A lot of teams they have to overtake. If they put up a huge run, I'll look at them again. Here's the National League projections from me and those from Team Rankings. Very similar again, except for the Reds. They have them a few out for the last wild card spot. My strength of schedule projections have them right there. Last time I said, don't be surprised if the wild card race went all topsy-turvy. And it has started to do so. The Cubs and Reds have decent remaining schedules, the Cubs much more generous ones, while the Giants and Marlins remaining schedules are a little more difficult on paper. Looking at the games they have against each other on this list, you can see the Phillies in a large part stay out of the fray, as do the Marlins. So on one hand, if they lose some games, it doesn't necessarily equate to strengthening a competitor at the same time, but also they can't knock out the competition on their own. The Cubs have a fantastic opportunity over the next week to rack up some wins against struggling teams before they get a run of playoff contenders. The Reds are at home against the Blue Jays this weekend before a West Coast road trip against the Angels, Diamondbacks, and Giants. We'll see how battered they are after that. Interesting, there aren't any marquee matchups between these teams this weekend, which does give everybody an opportunity to start a big run or dig themselves a hole. That is it for now. Thanks again to TeamRankings.com. Again, my site is playofcomputer.appspot.com. Enjoy your day.